Producers, listen up. So in this video, I'm gonna cover how bigger producers are able to cook up crazy beats in such small windows of time. So you may have watched the different producer interviews or podcasts and heard stories from these bigger hit makers saying how they made their fire beat in like 10, 15 minutes. And maybe, if you haven't been cooking up that long, you might be wondering to yourself, dang, I wish I could make beats that quickly, because whenever I make beats, it's like it takes me a real long time and I don't know how to get to that point. How do you know how to arrange your beats and pick the sounds and get the mix right in 10, 15 minutes? Like, that sounds crazy, right? So in a lot of these instances, these producers have been practicing and practicing and practicing over a long period of time. So when it comes to cooking up a new beat, they know exactly what type of kick they want to pick or what type of snare or clap they want to pick. So they're well rehearsed in what they're doing. So when it comes time to cooking up a new beat, especially under pressure, it's much easier for them because this isn't a new process. To let the cat out the bag, a lot of producers are essentially making slight variations of the same beat over and over again. So if you've been doing the same thing over and over again, it's easy to do it once again, especially under pressure. Not only that, but in instances when the producer is in the studio with the recording artist, one thing a lot of you guys may not know, that it's much easier to make a beat or produce a song with an artist right there next to you, because if you add one sound that the artist doesn't like, then they're just gonna come up to you and say, hey, don't do that. I don't like that sound. Like, add that sound. 9 times out of 10, at least in my experience, it's been an artist saying, hey, just don't add that, period. It hasn't been, change the sound. It's been, just don't add that. That kind of gets to a point that I make in a lot of my live beat reviews. The heat check, which you could check out right here on YouTube, is that, a lot of times producers don't know they're adding too many sounds, because a lot of producers haven't actually spent time in the studio with recording artists. So it's like, I don't know what I don't know. We're in the studio cooking up these big crazy anthems, or trying out this plugin and that preset and that loop and that new thing that we just found on that Discord, and we just want to kind of cram it all in. So a lot of producers are making beats for other producers and don't even know it. So one thing I like to say is try to get into the studio with the recording artist, because they're going to help you be able to make beats much quicker, because they're going to help you tailor make the beat for them. And I know a lot of you guys maybe possibly in countries where you don't have recording artists that you can just sit in the studio with. So if that's the case, maybe try adding acapellas to your beats, or even humming or rapping out loud. That's something I do frequently, and it keeps me from adding so many sounds to my beat. So that's another great tip. So in a nutshell, there's two things that's going on. One, the producer already has a framework or a process to get to the end goal that they've practiced over and over again. So when it comes time to cook a beat up in 15 or 20 minutes, they can get right there because they've done it over and over again. And two, in instances or stories and videos where they're actually in the studio with the artist can literally go over and say, take that out. I don't like that 808. Just use a sub bass, or use a lead bass. They usually won't use those type of terms, but they'll hum it, and you just kind of have to try to figure it out. And that just makes the beat making process so much easier, because it's like those one or two elements that would have kept the beat from being picked is not in there. So it's much easier for the artist to just jump on there. And man, a lot of times, at least in my experience, artists will jump on what I feel like are totally unfinished beats. Like, I don't even have much of anything going on, especially when you're making it in front of them. If you guys don't know how to record, please learn how to record. And man, I'm telling you, you'll be like, if you don't scratch your head on how quickly artists want to get in the booth and rap on your unfinished beats, I don't know if I really trust you as a producer, because it's always mind-blowing when it's like, man, I didn't even get to the hi-hats. I didn't even get to the reverse cymbal into the crash. You already ready to record. So, those are just a couple things that happen. So hope you guys learned something, and also make sure we continue the conversation. So let me know in the comments, how long does it take you to make a beat on average? Is it an hour, 45 minutes, 30 minutes, or does it just vary? Does it just depend on the day or on your mood? So I definitely want to know in the comments. And guys, make sure you go to Desmond A Sounds to get free FL Studio Patcher plugins, free loops, free guides, everything you need to help yourself grow as a producer. And also, don't forget that I got a Discord, so make sure you check out my Discord, subscribe there, and make sure you join the family. So, my name is Desmond A, and I'll be back with more great videos. I'll see y'all later. Peace.